All right, guys, we got to talk about Luigi Mangione, New York's most talked about vigilante. And let's be real, we all know this case has been crazy from the start. So, a quick recap. Back in December, Mangione was arrested for taking out UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson right outside a Manhattan hotel. Some people say he's a stone cold killer, others say he was pushed to the edge by a corrupt healthcare system. Either way, this case has blown up. But now his lawyers are fighting back, saying this whole thing is a setup for a mistrial. People don't understand what a mistrial is, but I'm going to explain it. They're claiming dirty police work, media bias, and a rigged system. And trust me, I know a thing or two about how the system plays dirty. But who's saying that? That's what I want to know right now. And we need to get into that. And that is not out of the realm of this right now. So where it goes from here, we're going to find out, and I'm going to follow it. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Mangione's legal team is pushing hard for hearings to get this trial thrown out. Because first of all, he shouldn't even be set for trial right now. He's set for trial because that's the way the system goes, but there's way too much dirty stuff going on right now, and we need to figure out what that dirty stuff is. Listen, his legal team is arguing three major things already, guys, already, and I'm going to push back on a few of them already. They're saying that the evidence wasn't collected legally. And what do they mean by that? Evidence in this case is going to be anything: DNA, handwriting, something that he said online could be part of the evidence. And when they mean was it collected legally, you know what they're saying? Did they do it legally? So we, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we're going to know it's him. We don't know. They're also saying the media has already tainted the jury. That I'm not buying, people. Listen, they can ask for a change of venue. We're not even close to picking a jury right now. How do you know? This is crazy. I ask people if they know who Mr. Beast is, and they don't know. So that guy's the biggest influencer, the biggest person on the internet, period. And now you're talking about, is this case already jury? You're telling me you can't find 12 people who don't know about this case? I can go out my door and find 12 people right now who don't know anything about this case. And I can guarantee that. And they're really saying this has started from the beginning. They have a judge who's partly agreeing with them, I think. And the whole thing could get thrown out or at least start over. I think for Mangione's situation, I would want it to be going forward right now. If you have stuff on already, get it into trial, get the jury sworn in, because once the jury is sworn in, and if something happens, then double jeopardy applies. You hear what I'm saying, guys? Double jeopardy applies after they swear the jury in. They can let him out and say, we're going to do it, and rearrest him a minute later. They can do that, and they do that. I'm going to keep digging in this case, people, because I want to see where the shenanigans are. Believe me, I'm not a truster of prosecutors. I'm not sitting here saying I'm on Mangione's side or the government side. Everybody who knows me knows I take a case down, break it down, and give you my opinion. Now, I've witnessed a lot more than a lot of lawyers will have witnessed. So take what I'm saying a little bit more deeper. For anybody who's been on Mars and doesn't know this, Luigi Mangione is charged in three different jurisdictions. Federal jurisdiction, he's charged, New York state jurisdiction, and the Pennsylvania state jurisdiction. He has been charged. And they are different charges. So I'm going to read these charges. He, in the federal charges, which of course carry the death penalty in this case, and it's the only jurisdiction that carries the death penalty, so it does make it very seriously. First of all, he was charged, obviously, for killing Brian Thompson, was the CEO of UnitedHealthcare. Yes, a healthcare company that refuses a lot of people. So far, Luigi Mangione had a website put up. I don't know if it was by him, but they raised over $500,000 for his legal defense fund. Think of that. This kid killed somebody point blank from the back. Well, accused of that. Let's face it, he's not guilty yet. And he's got over $500,000 because people are sick and tired of how healthcare companies ruin people's lives. That's what I'm hearing, and I had to get into the case. So the federal charges are murder through use of a firearm, and it carries a maximum of death in the federal system if you use that. Stalking, really, who cares? 2 counts related to alleged following and harassing Brian Thompson, and firearms offense, and that's what they'll always charge you with. It's under the 924C statute in the federal books, use of a silencer in a crime of violence. As I told you, silencers, altering a firearm, those are all federal charges that carry a minimum of 10 years, actually. In the New York State charges, he got first-degree murder, intentional and premeditated killing, which is a life sentence without parole in the state of New York. Murder in furtherance of terrorism. I don't know how hard that's going to be to prove. Killing intended to intimidate or coerce civilian population. Criminal possession of a weapon, illegal possession of firearm, big deal. And forgery. Whenever I see mega charges and then I see the little charges, I know why they do it, but let's face it, it's kind of stupid in my mind. Pennsylvania state charges: carrying a gun without a license, possession of an unlicensed firearm at the time of arrest, forgery, possession of false identification documents. He had documents to get out of the country. He had false identification with him. That is a crime in of itself, and it also shows intent. So we have to look at that as well, where that goes in that case. Falsifying, identifying oneself to authority. If a cop stops you and you give them a false name, that is a charge. If you just shut your mouth and give them nothing, that is not a charge. And possessing instruments of crime, and that's tools. And they say tools like, again, forged documents can be tools. Those are his charges. That is what Luigi Mangione is charged with in 3 different jurisdictions. So who's going to take over? Right now, he is in New York. He is in New York, and the federal government is refusing to transfer him at this point. And I think the federal government is also going to use the Southern District of New York to handle this case as well, because the case happened in New York, and the Federal District of New York is the Southern District of New York. In fact, he is being held right now, MDC, which is Metropolitan Detention Center, which is in Brooklyn. It's the same place P. Diddy's at. Most famous people will go and stuff of that nature. Do I think he's going to kill himself or anything like that? Like supposedly Epstein did? No, I don't. I think he has a case here. First of all, I found 5 ways he could do a defense in this case. Now, obviously, I'm not a lawyer on his case. I am watching all the stuff on the internet and all over and reading some documents from the courts that I can get to, that I know I can get to. First of all, everybody has an insanity defense. Do I think he's going to win an insanity defense? You never know, but they're going to have evaluations on both sides. I don't think when you can premeditate what he has done, that takes away that instant insanity defense for sure. But there is other long-term insanity defenses and stuff. I don't think he's going to win that. A lot of cases, they try that right off the jump, insanity defense. I don't think he can win that insanity defense. So we're going to leave insanity defenses off to the side for a second. His next defense is insufficient evidence or weak evidence. I think he has a case here. I have not seen such strong forensic evidence. I have not seen fingerprints. I have not seen even the video evidence is not clear in this case. Now, that's a big thing, because all you have to do, remember this. Now, this is for a capital punishment, so you have a jury of 12. A lot of cases are 6, but this is a jury of 12. And in this case, just one juror, doesn't think the evidence is sufficient enough. That brings it to a hung jury. Is that one juror going to also convince the others to actually do a innocent, not guilty verdict? Hey, O.J. Simpson did it. He went to his grave as an innocent man in that case, whether you believe it or not. And they had somebody convinced the glove don't fit. He got to acquit. Well, will he be acquitted because there's weak evidence? Listen, people aren't trustworthy of authority these days, especially cops. They come with the evidence. Now, do I think there's anything bad going on here? No. So far, I'm seeing what I believe is legitimate ways to handle a case like this. A third and very common way cases are lost in this is an illegal search and seizure. That means he is losing his rights. Illegal search and seizures happen in a lot of ways. Listen, if Mangione's constitutional rights are violated, I don't care if you think he's guilty or not, he has to be let go. And what does that mean? Maybe the officers filled out the warrant wrong and were looking in certain places they're not allowed to look. When you have a warrant, it's very specific. Don't forget that. That's very specific. Where's his Miranda rights read? Now, people think, oh, they didn't see him read his rights right when they arrest him. They don't have to. Let me explain Miranda rights. The Miranda rights are only come into effect if an officer asks you questions about that case. Now, they give you your rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed. Do you understand your rights? You have a right to an attorney. Once you say, I want an attorney, everything stops. But they have to give you those rights if they're asking you questions. Now, if you're in the back of a police car and they haven't read you your rights, and you just start blabbing, and that's all on tape, that's on you. That's why they tell everybody, listen to me. When you get arrested, do anything, shut your mouth. Bruce Rivers, another YouTuber, stop self-snitching. That's what he's talking about. Shut your mouth, get a good attorney. And obviously he has a good attorney. So there is cases here now that they're going to be going through. And obviously a lot of times in cases like this, they really, dot their I's, cross their T's. But you got to remember something. This man was picked up in Pennsylvania, Altoona, Pennsylvania, 5 days later. Now, were the cops there on point? Because, once you arrest somebody and you violate their rights, all the evidence that comes in after that is tainted. It's called tainted evidence, or the fruit of bad tree. So you can't use that. And that could ruin a case with something very important. I don't know if that's going to happen in this case yet, but I'm sure that it's being looked at very deeply. Listen, the next part, alternative suspect. And what I mean is what's his motive? As a guy who's done a lot of bad wrong, listen, I had motive. Motive was money. Motive was power. What is his motive? A lot of people saying he hates the insurance company. How you got to prove that? You don't just say a motive and that is the motive. Maybe it's on his text messages. Maybe it's somewhere. Listen, if I'm doing this case one way or the other, if the jury or if the defense can kind of give somebody else a reason, just like his, that he might have did it, puts doubt in the jury's mind. Remember, all the law I did in prison everywhere, you have to look at a case and say, common sense wise, how do we know it's him right now? I don't see anything clear as bell that it's this kid. Listen, they have a lot of ready suspect stuff. We got to hear how it is presented in a courtroom. We got to see if it's really true. Because, I don't trust the media. I'm telling you, Larry Lawton sitting right here does not trust the media. And people I know in the media I trust, but how they present the case to the people is sometimes all about numbers, all about views, all about that kind of stuff. I'm giving you my opinion on this case. Listen, if you have lack of somebody else, you better show a motive. What's the motive? Now I'm hearing, and I'll talk this out, he had a fusion in his back. He had two vertebrae fused. I've had many, so I understand that surgery very well. And this is, again, what I'm hearing, no evidence that he's pissed at the system. Maybe he didn't get covered for it. Maybe he had to pay for stuff he didn't believe he should pay for or something of that nature. I am not 100% sure, but they're going to have to bring that in as motive. People wonder why cases take so long. First of all, a case like this, here's another case I might want to put up, and I don't know if they waived speedy trial yet. And I think they probably did, but I wouldn't have. I would have not waived speedy trial on a case this quick because they get him, they pop him. How much are they really going to be ready to go in 180 days. Believe me, the government doesn't do anything quickly. So now I ask them to put together an airtight case that you're not going to win on appeal. You're not going to win on jury nullification. That's what we're going to talk about next. But you need to have clear motive of what's going on. Again, I look at it as alternative suspect. Could have somebody else did it. Could have somebody tried to plant it on him. A lot of things. Could have been 5 guys. Listen, here's what Larry thinks about. He looks and says, you know what, guys? There could have been 5 guys in a room. Say, listen, they all screwed us all. We're going to kill this one guy. Maybe he didn't do it. One of the others did. We don't know. I'm subjecting myself to let my brain go as you should. Because right now, if you just listen to the media, he's as guilty as you can. I mean, he's been convicted already. Now, that goes to the jury nullification, the fourth. First of all, listen, when they say jury nullification, here's what happens. They have to pick a jury. You know, you have the right to be judged by your peers. Well, first of all, your peers are from where you're from, number one. This happened in New York, so usually they're going to be your peers from New York. So they could do, and I'm sure they're going to ask for what they call a change of venue. Now, what does that mean? That means that the defense is saying, hey, listen, we cannot get a fair trial here. He is going to be convicted. There's been too much news coverage on this case, and we want to change a venue. Change of venue could be to Boston, could be to wherever the courts decide they can find a jury that doesn't know too much about this case. Now, obviously, the more the case is in the news, the more people do know about it. But I know with the amount of people in the United States, I'll tell you how I know. I asked how many people, I asked with my producer, Nick, do you know Mr. Beast? He has 370 million subscribers on his main channel, not counting all the other channels. And I asked people, do you know who Mr. Beast is? And most people say no. And that's just maybe because they're my age, or maybe they're even, not into computers or whatever. So there are people who don't look at the TV. There are people who don't watch radio, and they go on their lives. Listen, there's things that I catch myself now because I'm such a YouTube watcher. I don't catch in the mainstream. This happened to come from a lot of people on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube sending me messages saying, Larry, what do you think about? Of course, I knew about the case. Then I dived in. And as you know, I don't just dive in. I dive in deep. And I'm sitting here with a bunch of paperwork saying, oh, boy, I went down the rabbit hole. But you know what? If I have to go down the rabbit hole to give you my opinion, I always give a calculated and a reasoned opinion. And I'll tell you why. People should know this. If you all remember the Derek Chauvin case, which, of course, we should know from Minnesota, and he killed George Floyd, I picked the exact amount of time he got before the judge gave it to him. The day before the judge actually issued the sentence, I gave exact amount of time because I read the PSI, which is the pre-sentence investigation. I read the case. I read all briefs by both parties, and I picked it. I just happened to pick it exactly right. 23 and a half years. I said it. Nobody else did. In fact, I was giving a prize away for anybody who did get it. I got it. I don't want the prize. But guys, listen, my opinion comes from a wealth of knowledge of taking a step back and saying, wait a minute. Yes, it's horrendous. But are people upset insurance-wise? Absolutely. I hear it every day. I happen to be lucky. I'm a disabled American vet, so I get my medical care taken care of. If you don't, you have to pay for certain stuff, and they keep denying it, and they're trying to take more money out of your pocket. It drives me nuts when I hear people tell me that. It really, really does. I can't stand it, and it just makes me think, come on, guys. Are we really like that? Or is this country taking away people's life savings because they can't afford a medical procedure? Sadly, it is. And I feel for the people like that. So, listen, in conclusion of this case, I right now think he's going to be charged first in New York. That's my opinion. I think Pennsylvania will be put on the back burner, if ever charged in Pennsylvania. His charges in Pennsylvania aren't serious enough for me once this kid gets either if he gets a life sentence, or if he gets a serious sentence, what are you going to get him for? You know, the bullshit in Pennsylvania. Now, could they? Look what they did to OJ. After OJ beat his case, he went and got memorabilia of his in a hotel, and he went in the room and got it, and they gave him 9 years in prison. And if that wasn't a kick in the ass to say, hey, you should have laid low. But how much can you lay low? So that's a whole nother video. In this case, Luigi Mangione, I think, is going to be in the news for a long time. I think the venue, let's say how good I am, the venue is going to be denied. Change of venue will be denied. That's my opinion. I think they're going to come up with more forensic evidence. Let's see how solid it is. And if you remember the Casey Anthony experts, that was a forensic case, and she won that case. People aren't so trusty yet, and we'll see where they are. Let me know what your thoughts are, everybody. Please comment, like, check it out. I will be answering on this. Take care, and I'll see you next time.